All right, I call to order at 16:03, the Counties of Warren and Washington Industrial Development Agency special meeting on Wednesday, May 1st, 2024 at 4 p.m. Roll call, Ally.
Brian Campbell,
Here.
Dave O'Brien,
Here.
Ginny Sullivan. Here. Tim Robinson.
Here.
Dan Bruno,
Here.
Craig Leggett,
Here.
John Taplin,
Here.
Juan Gonzalez.
Here.
We have a quorum, we have 8 out of 10.
Good. Do we have anybody online?
No,
We introduced the in-person guest, please. Go ahead, Ally, Mr. Smith.
Mr. Bill Smith is here. He is the owner of Everything Underfoot Flooring Company and also the owner of the building of 188 Main Street in Hudson Falls, who is here to present his project to us.
And representing Affluence, we have Paul Skoschetti. Did I pronounce that right, Paul?
Okay.
I apologize.
That's
And,
okay.
and your assistant, I'm sorry?
Julie Dean.
Julie.
Good.
Welcome.
Welcome, everybody. And now we will move on to the everything underfoot inducement resolution. And we'll have Ally and Mr. Smith give us details one last time.
You want to talk about the
Okay,
project?
sure. Hi, guys. My name's Bill Smith. I am the owner of Everything Underfoot, which is a flooring remodel store, which is at 188 Main Street. That's the bottom level of the floor or the building. The second, third floor, we are trying to develop. It's been undeveloped for some time, but we've trying to get some revenue coming in on the second, third floor. We're putting 10 apartments in there. 6 of them are going to be 1-bedroom apartments and 4 are going to be efficiencies. The 1-bedroom apartments average between 900 to 1,000 square feet, and the efficiency apartments are going to be about 450 to 500. We're looking for a little relief. The numbers are a little high, and whatever I can accomplish here is definitely going to help us make the project a little bit more profitable and worthwhile.
So what Mr. Smith is looking at, is the total cost renovation is $1,825,000. The state and county sales tax abatement totaling 7% is based on 704,790 of goods and services with an estimated savings of $49,335. And the mortgage tax abatement of 1.25% from his financing is at $1,750,000. And the savings of that mortgage tax abatement is approximately $21,875. So the gross estimated savings is $71,210, and that is before IDA, administrative fees, and legal fees. And we're also looking at the community benefits, including the fact that this project is in line with the Village of the Hudson Falls comprehensive plan of the downtown renovation, and it also helps supply housing opportunities for the area that is in need of housing, and the residential development will benefit the surrounding businesses located in and near Main Street and Hudson Falls. Are there any questions?
Was there grant money involved with this
Yes.
project as well? Can you
Yep,
talk about that?
there's $600,000 worth of grant money that's available to us. It's paid at the end of the project after, of course, everything's been done, and we show our due diligence with our minority-based businesses, woman-based businesses that we can bring to the table. Yeah, it's reimbursable after the project is done in full, and we can validate all the paperwork is correct.
Was that a New York Forward grant, or do you know what that was from?
New York Restore.
Restore, thank you.
Yeah, it's a restore.
Okay.
Yes.
And how does that play into the calculations altogether in this package?
What that is, the 1.75 million is the total of his financing. So he's getting a bridge loan for the 600,000 to complete the project. And because he needs that money first to do the project before he's reimbursed. So there's the regular financing construction loan, and then there's the bridge loan of the 600,000.
Good, and we had the public hearing this morning, that video was sent out to the board and there were no public comments during that video. Any further questions?
This is in Kingsbury, I believe, right?
It's in the village of Hudson Falls. right near the
Right,
traffic
so it's in the
circle.
town of Kingsbury though, so did everyone sign off and,
They're not looking for a pilot. This is
Yes.
just mortgage and sales tax.
And Mr. Smith, as we had on the last board meeting, did talk to the supervisor and the supervisor. You want to go through that one last time?
Yeah, Dana Hogan's the town supervisor of Kingsbury, and he is not on board with any of the pilot programs that will affect his town. So even Bill Nickus, who's the village attorney for Hudson Falls, he turned him down on a project also. He did say that I could push to try to fight it, but he's like, I'm not the only person on the board. So he's like, I'm 100% sure that you're gonna be shut down. So, so we can pursue
I
that.
just want to make sure we did the proper avenues.
Great. All right, without any other questions, I will entertain a motion to accept the resolution. Dan? Second?
Second,
John?
oh, you got it. Okay.
Well, this is a roll call vote.
Wait, I have one,
Yes.
I have one modification to request. I'm not sure, I talked to Amy earlier today. She said she's not sure if you're gonna transfer the property into a different entity and then have a different owner of the land or the real property. So I would request that in case that is something you do, we approve it as everything under Foot LLC or it's assigns in case he establishes a new LLC for ownership.
So we did establish an LLC.
Yeah.
I believe she should have that paperwork.
Okay. She wasn't sure if you were gonna go through with it, so I said for approval purposes, let's get it on as or assigns so that when we draft the paperwork, we have the ability to make sure we put it to the right entity.
Okay, yeah,
It'll still be the same owners, you,
sure.
so it'll just be a different structure, so that would be my request.
All right, roll call vote.
Okay, Brian Campbell,
Yes.
Dave O'Brien,
Yes.
Jenny Sullivan. Tim Robinson,
Stay.
Dan Bruno,
Yes.
Craig Leggett,
Yes.
John Taplin,
Yes.
Juan Gonzalez.
Yes,
All right, motion passes.
motion passes. Jeff, sir, thank you so much.
Thank you guys. very much.
Congratulations.
Good luck with the project. And
Yes.
thanks for doing it.
Awesome.
Downtown should be a real game changer for the village there.
One last point, if I may make, there is administrative work over the next few years with Ally. Well, not as much without the pilot, but there are deadlines that we have to meet as a night. And you know, we ask that you be receptive and when Ally asks for stuff, that you make sure that she gets it in a timely fashion.
Absolutely.
The state comes at us if we're not. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care.
Good, ready? What do you want?
See you. Take care.
All right, moving on, the Akron application acceptance resolution. Let me just give you guys a table of contents. We'll have, Chuck introduce the application. We'll have Kara talk about some timing and UTEP deviation items. He will then introduce the applicant rep and they'll provide a summary. And then, Chuck will give it back to Chuck to talk about the community benefits. We'll open up for any questions and then we'll look to entertain a motion at that point. Should we go from there? So we'll start with Chuck.
Okay, a few introductory remarks. So as a reminder, on April 9th, the IDA received an investment incentive application from Akron Sports. Also 326 Sherman Avenue Associates LLC to support the purchase and further development of the Adirondack Dome built in 2004 on a 19-acre site off of Sherman Avenue. This is a unique application with the request of property tax exemption from not only incremental property improvements, but also base property taxes. The applicant has proposed a specific pilot payment over 10 years. This triggers a deviation from the IDA uniform tax exempt policy and will require formal approval from the town of Queensbury. On February 9th, Afrin and Paul met with the Queensbury Town Supervisor, John Stroud, and other town officials to discuss the IDA incentive application. Mr. Stroud indicated the town is supportive and asked the Affirm team to provide a courtesy review with the Queensbury School District. A meeting with Queensbury representatives occurred on April 15th. School officials have no concern and have informed the town accordingly. Mr. Stroud expects the town board to pass a resolution supporting the application on May 6th. And today I did receive an email from John looking for some specific information for that resolution, which is being drafted. The purpose of today's special meeting on this project is to learn more about the application and to consider accepting the application. And with that, I'll turn it over to Kara for next steps.
Okay, so, as Chuck explained, the pilot that's being requested is, a deviation from the standard pilot, as described in the UTEP. That requires the town to approve that as stated. So it's our understanding from a timeline perspective, as we understand it, the town board will be considering this at its next meeting on May 6th. And then the IDA at this point obviously has to have a public hearing like we do with all of our projects. With the timelines and time constraints with the CoStar publication process and things of that nature, if it was approved today to put on the agenda, or I'm sorry, to schedule for the public hearing, and we waited until after Queensbury takes action to notice it, then the earliest we could have the public hearing would be immediately prior to the meeting on the 20th. So if you want to wait until the 20th to take any action, then we're pushing out another month with the timeframes. So, the other piece is that with respect to the retail component of it, because it's providing a service to people who go to the facility, general municipal law requires that both counties consent to the project. I've reached out to both county attorneys. We will be required to go to, the committee meetings, personnel in Washington County. Warren County is gonna get back to me and let me know whether that's personnel or economic development. And then once it makes it through committee, which then it would be pushed to the full board, so.
I guess the question, I don't know why it's personnel.
It'd be economic development.
Yeah,
In our case, we finance.
BI planning would be under economic development.
Okay, well, I'll go back to Dan then and ask him, he's the one that'll make personnel, so I think that's where it went.
Oh, maybe he was bringing it right to finance then. 'Cause
Yeah.
finance is right after person.
Yeah, maybe he went back and looked at a prior project and said that was.
That could be.
Valid. In any event, we would need to request to get on those committee meetings, and then the committees would make decision as to present it to the full board.
So does it, so economic development for Warren County isn't until after the next board meeting?
Right, yeah, we
It could be
understand,
June.
right, when I talked to Larry, it seems, and I've also discussed the timeline with Paul as well. It's, the soonest, if everything took action according to the schedule, the soonest would be a June approval from the two counties.
Right, question. Was that for full board?
No idea.
Yes, it would have to go through committee and then either refer to the full board for approval or lack thereof.
You know, it's not planned, but finance is a knife, we request finance in the full board. Meet your 20th deadline from our standpoint.
Our finances tomorrow, we couldn't do it.
No, Larry already told me, he already said, so.
So maybe, we might as well be on the
We'll
same
go-
schedule as them. I'm thinking that it might be smartest to go through economic development so they could hear it under that parameter.
Well, I guess to that point, I'm not sure what the county attorney or what the chair is gonna recommend as far as what action has the IDA taken at this point, because the only action you're able to take today is to schedule the public hearing. Or to authorize the scheduling of the public hearing. And, so that's the only step you could take today at this juncture.
So just clarify that. Can we accept the application to that?
Yeah, you can accept the application, receipt of it, and then authorize the public hearing. The resolution that, I prepared, doesn't have any approvals in it. It just indicates that it's a project that's been submitted, the application is complete. And, you know, there's steps that need to be taken.
Yeah, we've accepted this.
We understand, and there's contingencies, it's gotta have, town consent and, you know, we didn't make any the resolution itself does not contain any findings as far as an approval of the project.
And none of us, neither county could accept anything until Queensberry does anyway, so.
Yeah, it was a discussion that we had regarding authorizing the scheduling of a hearing. Because if you don't do that today, then you're pushing
Right,
back.
and
So
you're
that,
taking.
I mean, obviously that's within your discretion, but that's because the Post-Star only publishes 3 days a week now. And because of their timeframes, we would be beyond your next meeting. So you would either be looking at another month or another special meeting.
Need a motion to schedule the public hearing?
No, not yet.
Damn.
So, we will at some point,
So
yeah.
for clarification, we're jumping through all the counties because this is a deviation from our standard.
No, we're going to all the counties because of the retail component,
The retail-
which they
so it's a-
consider, the state reviews this as retail as a good or service.
So we're just looking for the counties to concur that this is a unique business within both counties on the retail side. So it's uniqueness. So it's sort
It
of,
provides a service that's not otherwise readily available to the communities. So if this facility was no longer there, people in our community would have to travel whatever distance to go to a similar.
Okay, so that's considered the retail. It's not just the food concessions.
No, it's not that at all. And in fact, Larry asked me that question from Warren County's perspective. He wanted to know specifically what the use was going to be. So there's really no change in use. Warren County apparently had some concerns if it was going to be some sort of like strip mall or something along those lines. And I explained to him that there's no change in use. It's just the same project, just some renovations, et cetera.
and for clarification, so the counties are not being asked to approve the application. They're just being asked to concur with the issue as far as the uniqueness.
Right, the law is pretty vague. It just indicates that the counties have to consent to your findings.
Okay,
So you're the board making the finding, and they're just saying, okay, we consent to that.
so
Yes, it is a consent approval of the board.
Right, but it's your findings, so they have to concur, they have to agree with the findings that you've made based on.
So it's a very interesting position to put our county in, since it's not our county.
Your county's been
To
in
mess
this
up
position.
your,
I mean, the county's been in the position before, like with any sort of,
Warren's been on the other side.
and Warren's been on the other side when Washington County approved Market 32
mhm. Mhm.
and any bond
and that was
project.
retail too.
Yep.
Okay,
That
so-
was, and that's the project.
and that's
that
kind
Dan
of what we
pulled up.
need to know when it gets presented.
Dan already pulled it up, so I'm sure
Okay.
that's what we prepared to discuss.
Very good.
Good. Anything else for Kara on timing, UTEP deviation, municipal law, Post-Star timing? All righty.
No, I do have a question.
Yes.
I do have a question. Looking at the timing. Now it goes through. Could the board pass could the board pass it pending the approval of the counties or the towns?
So the way the law is written with respect to the counties, the board acts first and makes the finding, that then is presented to the counties.
Which makes
The
sense.
counties consent to the findings of the IDA. With respect to the deviation, I mean, you technically could, but based on the last modifications that you made with respect to the UTEP, it would be that you would want the town to act first.
See, there's one thing you didn't do.
All right, moving on,
Always
Chuck, to
for-
introduce
for
the applicant.
Okay, with that, we'll turn over to Paul and please tell us more about the project and we'll perhaps ask a few questions.
Okay, my name is Paul Trichetti. I'm with the firm of Trichetti Cable. We're in Latham. My associate Julie Dean. I appreciate you having us here tonight, giving us a chance to present on this application. My client is Afram Sports Inc. and Afram Mizaj. Afram's been involved in soccer and sports facilities now for decades in the capital region. He has I just want to give you an idea of the facilities that he has quickly. He's got a Afram Sports Park, which is, his newest facility by the airport in Albany. It's a 90,000 square foot dome and 4 outdoor turf regulation fields. Afram's Latham Dome is 80,000 square foot, 4 indoor fields, 1 outdoor, and he's in the process of installing another outdoor regulation field. Afram's Colony is 95,000 square feet of indoor facilities. Those 3 facilities, to give you an idea, the demand that they meet are all within 5 minutes or so of each other. They're booked all the time. In addition to those facilities that he owns and operates, he leases and operates the Bethlehem Soccer Dome, which the town of Bethlehem brought him in to operate the dome. They were having difficulties with it. That's a 44,000 square foot dome, and there are outdoor fields that the town maintains and operates. And he recently acquired Afram's Malta, which is 40,000 square feet of indoor space up in the town of Malta. The facility that we're looking at now is the Adirondack Dome, which is a 108,000 square foot dome with 4 regulation size fields outside that are grass fields. So with the acquisition of the dome, to give you an idea, he's got over $1 million square feet of athletic fields, turf and grass, and over 460,000 feet of domes and indoor facilities that he manages, which creates a network of facilities so they can operate together and makes the use of the facilities in each facility that much stronger. Now, we're under contract to purchase this business, been going on for a while, purchase the business and the real estate. The purchase price is $2,185,000. Almost all of that is going towards the real estate. The business itself didn't have any value. There's some value in the assets. My client planned some immediate renovation to the facility. It's a good sized facility. It's a nice facility. Some immediate renovation he wants to make is take the batting cages out and bring fields in. The fields will generate much more use than the batting cages. Also, the food and beverage area, the retail area, so that there's more there, in reception area generally for parents and guests when they're there not playing, and teams going in and out, which will have an immediate impact on the operation of the business. Ultimately, at least 1 outdoor field will be converted to artificial turf. The grass fields just don't give you enough use for a long enough period in the Northeast. With the artificial field, you're picking up another 3, maybe more months of use. At least 1 will be converted. One thing you'll find out about working with Afram, he's always using conservative numbers. None of these numbers that we ever present, as much as I would like to be able to get him to be a little more aggressive in it, he's conservative in everything that he approach that he takes. What we're asking for in the application is benefits of the sales tax exemption for the renovations to be done, mortgage tax exemption, which is not a full mortgage tax exemption. I say that because a good portion of our project involves SBA funding, which has naturally an exemption built in. So it's a smaller exemption because it only covers the percentage that's funded by commercial lender in the pilot. I understand that the pilot, I hear the word deviation a lot, and I apologize for having to deviate from what's normal procedure. I can assure you that it's out of necessity for the operation of his business and this facility, and that it's necessary for him to have the items that are a deviation, mainly the fixed numbers. These operations, they work on a small margin. And To get the numbers to work, not only in some of these facilities that, he's doing extremely well with, but in this particular case, it's a fine facility, but the operators had some issues, and the business really hasn't been operating at a profit. So even when we presented this to the bank for financing, there was a problem because it came back and the banks, attributed a zero value to the business itself, because it's just operating at a loss. So what Afram has to do in his first couple of years is first stop the bleeding, and second, turn this thing around and get it to start at least breaking even and then making some money. The way he operates these facilities, the money goes back into the facility to make the facility provide more use to the facility, which will provide then the revenues. The benefits that these facilities have, I mean, it's, when I first saw this, I can tell you that I was astounded. We presented an application to the town of Colony for the facility of, from Sports Park. We couldn't, as similar here, we couldn't make the numbers work. And we had to bring the cost down. A big part of that project was to be able to control the costs in the town of Colony on this facility that's on the old Shaker farmlands, right in the middle of everything that's going on. Great location, but you know what we knew was going to happen where we had an agricultural exemption with a rollback, and all the property around us that were part of this farm were all approved for apartments, and they're all getting taxed at high numbers. It just didn't work when we put the pen to the paper. We presented an application to the town of Colony, and we started off 5-0 against the application. With time, as everyone got to understand the project better, it was 5-0 in favor. We commissioned a report out of a company, an independent company out of Tampa that does a lot of these consulting and reports for operators like Afram. And when the numbers came back of what these places generate, tournaments and leagues and practices, and people bringing their kids in for lessons, and my son's at a practice for a year, for an hour. My daughter's at a practice for an hour. I need to run to the mall. Someone coming in out of town, picking up gas, stopping at the diner before they get on the road, hotels for tournaments. When we saw the numbers, just as I said, it was astounding. That's the way these facilities work in unison with the communities where there's multiple benefit. The other benefit is the reality that these facilities are providing a use to the community that the communities just can't provide anymore. It isn't free use of fields, but it's fields at a reasonable cost, reasonable fees to use the fields for not only leagues for kids, not only lessons for younger, toddlers, but adult leagues. When I was younger, we went to the local school, we had the gym at night, and me and my buddies all played basketball. Not getting any gyms anymore. You're not going to get it. The schools don't have the facilities. They don't have the wherewithal to keep those facilities. They haven't added, they can't add the facilities for everyone to use it. The issue of liability comes in, but really cost. And what happens is these facilities are the only place for adults, kids, for these leagues, for lessons, for the school when they have a problem with their facilities to go there. One of the bigger users in the town of Colony is the town of Colony School District. So they become really kind of a necessity in the community. I want to say that I'm greatly impressed with the town supervisor, the members of the town board that were at our meeting, the assessor, when we sat down with them. They got it right from the beginning. They've been extremely supportive of the project and our application. They understand the importance of having this facility in the community. And what they were saying without us even having to say is, how do we get you to add more fields? How do we get you to get more land and add maybe softball fields. Girls softball that's coming up, it's a big league, a big sport with a huge need, that has to be filled. So it's kind of how these projects work. The pilot, without a variable, gives us a pro forma that we can present to the bank that works. The numbers are tight. We go to the bank, we fix the numbers, we show them what they can do. Luckily for Afro, he has 4 or 5 instances where he can show the bank he's got a record of performance. There's a lot of similarities between the sports park and this particular project. Maybe there was a huge need for the sports park, but the facilities themselves are close to what they will be in the end, size-wise and fields and so forth. But also in putting the deal together. This deal, it hangs on a shoestring based on these numbers. So from our perspective, it's a necessity, and we appreciate your consideration in that. We understand that it's a deviation, but it's, the variables just don't work with what he needs to do with his lenders and internally with making this thing work. I want to say, although I don't have a vote on the public hearing and so forth, I would like, if possible, that the public hearing be held at a sooner date rather than later, because we have some closing constraints, mainly with the sellers, lenders, but also the banks that have committed their conditions, these conditions, but they're all, we probably, because rates are dropping and they don't want to wait too long, but we're getting a lot of pressure from them. So rather see it sooner than later. Afrin would rather get in there sooner than later to turn this project around. So if that can be done, I would appreciate it. If anyone has any questions, the only thing I want to say is I'll just tell you, if you could bear with me, I'm hearing impaired. So if I mishear you, that's why Julie's here with me. They now know in my office when to jump in and when not, but if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
$1.7 million was in the application for the finished value of the real estate, but isn't that what you're getting it for now? And then Mr. Afrin would be putting in $1 million more?
I think that the real estate probably has more value than what it's paying if he was going to develop it for apartments. There were other deals to the credit of the seller. The seller took a proposal that he thought worked because Afrin was going to make this project continue. The best use of this land would be to come in, it's already excavated to some extent, get rid of the dome, put a couple hundred apartments in there, and I'm sure you'd probably find people to do that. The facility itself, the land is worth what we can generate in income off of that. What we have to get those fields eventually converted, maybe one in a couple of years, but soon, almost all of them to, if not all of them, to artificial turf, and to have the facility working, maybe add some more fields. I don't know if I'm answering your question.
I'll take other questions. I'll find where it comes up in the application.
Hey,
So, I mean, I've used the facility, I haven't, my kids have used the facility. It's had a lot of ups and downs. And it's gotten a lot of support from various bodies in Warren County. ARPA funds, different areas in there.
I was gonna bring that up, 490,000. We're, someone just to jump in, Warren County, I'm a member of the Board of Supervisors. This is our county administrator, and Greg was a member of the Board of Supervisors, so we're somewhat intimately familiar with the full benefits of this because the gentleman that owns it now has applied year after year for occupancy tax funding, and we give it to him. I don't remember the exact number, but about 490, I think. Pretty chunk. And in so doing, in making application for those funds, they have to state what the benefits are. So we get a look at what the possible revenue generated via hotels, restaurants, gas, so what you referred to earlier. So there is a good benefit there from this facility as far as, ancillary or periphery, whatever you want to call it, term for other businesses to benefit from this facility. So we know a fair amount about that.
It does increase, the hotel stays with the teams that come in and the parents and everything.
So my question is, since he struggled to make it, why do you think you can change that?
The only person that can make, it's my opinion, obviously, you may think I'm biased on it, but
I know you're biased, but that's okay.
my son played for 10 plus years, on a travel team, and I spent a lot of time in it. It wasn't Afram's team. But I always admired Afram because he's the only guy, and we knew all the leagues and so forth. Where you see them, they all operate, their league or the teams that they train. None of them can really make these facilities work. Afram's unique in that industry. He's really the only guy that can do it on multiple facilities. He's got a great setup. There are times I call him, he's in his truck himself driving down to Georgia because he got a deal on some fence that he's gonna bring back and paint black himself, or I've called him and he's on his way out to Indiana to buy some golf carts at a really good deal. I mean, he's that kind of guy that understands every aspect of this business, been doing it long enough. And I think when he looks at it and puts his pro forma together, he feels confident that he can make this business turn around and make it work. What he's done with some of his tournaments by having multiple facilities is just remarkable. The Christmas tournament and I think it's a Memorial Day tournament, but I know definitely the Christmas tournament and one of the holidays. Back when my son was playing, there were maybe 10, 20 teams. He had over 200 teams this past year. When you think about it, 200 teams, 15 average kids per team, parents coming, siblings, grandparents sometimes coming to these games, watching these kids play in multiple day tournaments, and they're spread now across the greater capital region, so that you can't do 250 teams because you don't have enough fields. But now with the Adirondack Dome, now we can do 250 teams instead of 200 teams. And it goes on and on. This is a great facility, and I think it fits in to his portfolio of properties nicely. But if there's a guy that can make this work, it's Afram. He's got the network there already. I think the seller did a great job, and his heart was definitely in this project, 150%. He had one facility. It's a lot different than dealing with Afram Sports with all of their facilities and the network that they have out there. Afram's known around the country. When we called the guys down in Tampa for that report, we didn't know them. They knew who Afram was. So I don't know if that answers your question. I hope it did, but I think he can make this work with the turnaround.
One part, and I appreciate the county helping out with that tax, but what happens if that's not available? Is that gonna be sustainable?
Well, I don't know. He hasn't had one of his facilities not work, so I wish I could tell you at this facility, it didn't work and this is what happened. He hasn't had one that he hasn't turned around. He gets approached all the time. There's that great facility out in the town of Richmondville. When they say build it and they will come, it didn't happen out there. They built this phenomenal facility. If any of you've been out there, I mean, it was right in the middle, right off I-88.
Yep.
And they just couldn't make it work. They brought Afram in. He walked away from it. Not everything can work. Not everything fits. He thinks with some, level of confidence, that he can make this work. It's definitely a nice facility. It's a big facility. The fields are there. It's gonna take a little bit of money to get it back in. He probably won't make money for, and probably 3-4 years before he'll be making money on this, but he has the pockets to be able to do that, from the other facilities, the operation. The fact that it's a snowball already in process.
Yeah, can I ask a question? Has he received occupancy tax? Has he received occupancy tax at any of the other locations?
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Occupancy tax money, that tax money, has he received that at any of the others? Yeah.
Has he received occupancy tax at any of the other facilities?
Do we get anything back from the hotels? Is that what you're saying?
No, we have an occupancy tax and Clark County development.
It's different.
Projects to bring economic development.
It's different
Has he
everywhere.
received that at any of its others?
No,
Some don't share.
no, we don't get that. We definitely don't get it in Town Colony. Those three facilities, you all do that.
They're just stand alone.
You good,
Yeah.
But we have-
After Dan, we'll go to John. Go ahead, Dan.
No, I was just commenting that they don't receive any,
I don't know if he's even familiar with it, so I'm gonna look into that and let him know about it. He certainly didn't present it in any of my meetings with him, that there was this, benefit that he gets.
John.
So I'm the newbie, so the risk to us in this is not that the business fails or succeeds as much as the risk is that we're withholding property tax and mortgage tax and sales tax from the county. Is that, as I understand? Yeah, so. I mean, whether the business is gonna fail or succeed, that doesn't impact that one way or the other, does it?
Yes,
It does.
it would impact the revenue coming in other areas if it succeeds.
Yeah.
It would offset or could, it has the opportunity to offset whatever pilot, whatever incentive.
Yeah,
we
whatever
get
incentive.
Could be
Yeah.
offset by more revenue through the.
More
through the
sales tax and
ancillary
occupancy
businesses. Yes.
tax revenue.
Yeah,
Dave, go ahead.
So, well, I have my feelings about deviations. This is a perfect example of why the IDA is in existence. To help that transition between getting started, I say 5 years before most companies
Yeah.
make a profit moving forward. This is a good transition point, because what would happen if that went belly up? And the county takes it back and tries to get sold, now we have to do a rem foreclosure and pay back the excess to the owner. But this is a prime example of why this works, if what IDAs are all about, why IDAs give sales tax relief only on the improvements to the property. It's not an ongoing basis, they still get revenue off sales tax from ticket sales or from food sales or whatever sales they get, they're selling jerseys and equipment there or whatever. You're still gonna get a sales tax. Mortgage tax, a one-time shot, so yes, there is relief, but the long term, as one of my friends said, who worked with the Malta plant down to get that going, this 10 years goes by really quick. The benefits there forever.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm gonna say something. I'm not trying to support this one or another, but I will say, from my experience with the current owner, I'll be very blunt here between us, I'm kind of surprised he lasted this long. My point of that is that if you get someone who has a good track record and a history, if this guy could last this long, I have a lot of faith that this individual could do a good job. I have some experience. I was vice president of Adirondack Youth Hockey for a number of years. I was a tournament director for a number of years. I know that the way you structure tournaments and what you provide to attract teams makes a big difference. And some people just don't quite know how to do it, some do. So I think that, based on my experience and what I've seen both with the dome and what I've heard here, I would think that this individual probably would do a much better job than the current owner. Thank you.
Greg,
So can the deviation be explained? I'm looking at this chart here. And that, you know, it's on the application. Can that be explained how that is different than what would otherwise be granted or requested?
So what's being requested is,
The application.
So I know where you're going. The deviation is the difference
The
because
deviation
it's
is
how
that
it's
it's
recorded.
different. The
Yeah.
deviation is that it's a different type of pilot payment schedule altogether. Typically, we keep the taxes on the base
Yeah,
the same for the term of the pilot. We identify what that base amount is in the pilot agreement. The company continues to pay that tax amount throughout the term. The exemption or the tax abatement is on whatever those improvements are for the period of that term. So in this case, the company is requesting a totally different schedule, which would be based on an actual set formula, or set a price. So the document that Chuck prepared and submitted, that shows each year what portion would be paid to the county, the town, and the school, and what those amounts would be. So they know, you know, I'm assuming, I don't want to speak for you, I'll let you speak to that point, but so that they know that in year one, this is how much we're budgeting for taxes. In year two, this is how much we're budgeting for taxes. So it's a set payment term for the period of the pilot agreement, not based on the assessed value necessarily, not based on improvements, but a set schedule
okay.
that's paid to the counties in a prorated formula based on what their current tax rates are. So I don't have it right in front of me, but if it's like, I think the town is like 14% or something like that.
Yeah, so.
So they get
for something-
14% of the overall payment.
If we were to do that, if it were our basic UTEP, when we have 50% off the first 5 years and 25% off the years 6 through 10, these numbers would be different, but these numbers are now 14% of the payment rather than 50%. So it's, these are numbers that are different. Again, it's a fixed schedule. This is a fixed schedule, and we backed into what the percentage payment would be.
But that's 14% of what?
Of the taxes.
The assessed value taxes.
With
That
the
would be
base,
the base.
the base plus the
Plus.
incremental investment of 550,000. And then if you did the regular taxes, that's what, this would be full taxes here
Yeah.
to 36,000. But they're saying they want to pay 5, so that's only 14% of what regular taxes would be.
There we go. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I believe the pilot agreement, correct me if I'm wrong, pilot agreement has an assessed value in the agreement. So it isn't a pilot subject to a moving assessment. The assessment is established in 10-year pilot.
At $1.7 million, it looks like.
Correct.
Yeah.
So they'll come up with part of this, an assessed value. So when it comes off for that year, that will be the assessed value on the property till it's adjusted. Typically, they come out and reassess the property when it comes off the pilot, if it isn't extended or terminated sooner or anything like that.
And then they'll be paying their special district taxes outside of the pilot, like usual.
As usual, so it'd be
Plus
on
the
the full
fire
assessment.
and-
So
yeah,
fire and lighting.
that-
This is a 10-year pilot request. In a Colony, we had 15-year. Both, well, this one definitely tied into the financing, the 10-year term on the note. In order to get the pro forma, this is the 10-year we used. The Colony, we added 15, it went beyond where we were, but that was all part of working everything out. So you're just really looking to get these numbers so they're workable. And you can take that money and just keep putting it back into the facility.
Any other questions?
Has the school weighed in on this? Has the school?
We had the opportunity to meet with the school district at the urgent truck. We met with them and, you know, when you're talking to the schools, they understand, the providing fields, and that certainly is helpful to them. I don't want to speak for them. I think they were pretty clear about how much they want to stand behind or take a position and how much they don't want to take a position. But I will tell you that they were extremely receptive. Certainly showed us support to us. They didn't voice any objection to us. Unlike sometimes we'll face some opposition, they didn't really indicate that. So I don't want to speak for them, but they seem to be receptive to it.
I subsequently have spoken to officials and they say they have no concern.
No, it goes a long way because the school, as we know, is the big
Yeah.
gorilla here.
Brian?
So in year 11, we're expecting an absolute new assessment for number one, but at the same time, the bank should be satisfied by that point. So
10-year term.
so it's a 10-year loan, so then whatever he was paying towards the loan has the opportunity to pay the increase to the 100% tax loan.
I mean, I'll say it, year 10, if we're back here saying, you know, we need this to make the numbers work, and we got bigger issues than just a pilot. By year 10, this facility should be operating the way these other facilities do.
Anybody else before we move on to Chuck to talk about the community benefits? All right, Chuck.
Okay, so I'll just outline the incentives very quickly and then the community benefits. They're all in the funding statement, so I'll hit it real quickly. Any questions, please stop me. The pilot schedule proposed predetermined annual tax payments to the tax jurisdiction are as follows: $5,000 in years 1 through 3, $10,000 in years 4 through 5, $15,000 in years 6 through 7, $20,000 in years 8 through 9, and $25,000 in year 10. This totals $130,000 over 10 years versus an estimate of $364,540 based on payment calculations on the current tax rates and assessed values without escalation. The estimated property tax benefit is $234,540 over 10 years. Next, the state and county sales tax abatement, only 7% based upon up to $575,000 subject to sales tax. This calculates a benefit of $40,250. And then finally, the mortgage tax abatement, 1.25% off of the non-SBA financing loan of $1,117,500. The estimated benefit is $969. As far as the community impact, I'm gonna hit it real quick. Support the regional sports and recreation services for people of all ages. Generate an estimated 4 to 5 construction jobs with 50% of the construction materials at $300,000 sourced in Warren County. Support an estimated 8 full-time equivalent employment positions. Generate non-local visitor spending of at least $800,000 per year. I say at least because I only took 50% of what was in the economic analysis to be super conservative. So my calculations of benefits, only 50%. Report is suggesting $1.6 million a year. Again, I'm only using $800,000. 5, generate non-local visitor sales and occupancy tax of at least $37,000 per year. Again, that's only 50% what was in the economic analysis. Generate additional sales tax of $7,000 per year based upon dome merchandise and food sales. Generate an estimated pilot payments of $130,000 I just spoke about. Generate community cost benefit ratio estimated at 1 to 40 over 10 years. The estimated cost of all state, county, and tax incentives is $288,759. The estimated benefits to the community is $11.5 million for the same period. That brings the ratio 1 to 40. If you do the net present value of the estimated community net benefits, it's $8.8 million. And for that reason, passage or approval of this application, or at least acceptance today, is recommended. Any questions?
One final round. All right, then. I will entertain a motion for the resolution accepting the application for assistance submitted by 326 Sherman Avenue Associates LLC and authorizing a public hearing. Brian, second. Dan. All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstain? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, team.
Thank you very much for accepting the application. I hope we can get your support on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night. See you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I am gonna wrap this up here in a few minutes, but first let me turn the floor over to Dave.
So I've been on the idea for 12 years. We have come a long way. And I think last year I stated that it was time for me to move on. With Juan being chair, and now my one thing was to make sure the Fast New York program got through. So I'm resigning from the IDA. I've offered to Juan that if they want, I'll act as a consultant, as an advisor, whatever you want, help you out. I know there's a lot of stuff in my head that no one can even gather unless you ask me the right questions. But that's what I look at, you know, it's a hard decision this time. I want to thank y'all for your support. Some of you have been here through the entire ride. Some not.
Most
When I
not.
started.
When you started, I came in 10 years ago.
That was 12 years ago.
So,
Ginny wasn't, Dan wasn't, Tim wasn't, Brian wasn't.
I've been here before you and after you. I've had a couple different stints.
Thank you.
Can't remember.
Thank you
Sometimes
for
it
your-
seems like, well,
Yeah, Dave, thank you for your service.
I think you did well.
Yeah, really appreciate it.
Still a long way to go.
All right.
Great.
Now, who did you find as your replacement? Because that's what you told me when I joined.
The chairman of Washington has some ideas.
yeah,
He and I have a difference of opinion.
Okay.
I'm one that thinks maybe supervisors shouldn't be on this committee, on the IDA. It's, in some ways, there's a little bit of conflict with our jobs at the county. On the other hand, the other part of the county, it's supportive of it, so sort of in between there. So, yeah, thank you.
Great.
must say, I haven't been on it now for 9 some odd years. It's been night and day from the first day I got on, the way that the IDA was operating to what it is now, the level of activity, the analysis that goes into the findings and all of this. Not that it wasn't bad to begin with, but Dave has really changed the face and the shape of this organization so that I think we are a very good IDA, a good machine here. So thank you, Dave. Your leadership has gone a long way.
Right.
Yeah, I'd like to echo what Craig said. I've seen a lot of different leaders on the IDA. So it's been very interesting, but I think the biggest thing is the turnover in people, the analysis level we got to, bringing on bringing on the Alex position. We had someone in the position before, Debbie, whatever, was here forever. Yeah, she was here forever. And then now bringing on Craig after Mike Ostrand, I think that's been a big help to have a director and get direction and move forward. And I give a lot of credit to making all those changes.
Okay. I hope you give us the opportunity to celebrate you more in January during our annual party. Karis says drinks are on her, so that's good.
Still owes me 7 happy hours and an ice cream at Martha's.
I do appreciate the mentorship and we'll keep the communication lines open. All right.
Because if I say that, sometimes my perspective is not, understood, but, I just have a word of advice. Sometimes a deal really isn't the deal you think it is. And I think you have to step back and look at things from different perspectives. And while I appreciate everyone here, I do have a different perspective of people. Because someone said, well, this company's gonna bring 100 jobs. Well, look at it. They're not new jobs to Washington County, they already exist. So, that's perspective takes hand, and what handcuffs does it put on you? If you do look at something and make a decision by not evaluating every single perspective, and sometimes it's hard. Someone's offering you $10 million, and sometimes the perspective to look at is, it may be the right thing to say no.
All right, public comments. Any public comments? Anyone wish to speak?
I guess I can say public comments now.
Is there anyone that wishes to be heard? Having called 3 times for public comments and hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting. Brian, second. John, meeting adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.